Good afternoon and welcome to Leadership Talks. I'm Elizabeth George, Director of Member Engagement and Chapter Development with the American Guild of Organists. And our subject today is keeping chapters healthy during the time of COVID-19. Before I introduce our esteemed panelists, I'm just going to go over a couple of housekeeping notes. First of all, this is being recorded and it will be uploaded onto our website under the Education tab, probably by Monday afternoon. So no need to take notes. You have been muted. However, we do want to hear from you. So please post your questions in the Q&A box that is down at the very bottom of your screen. If you click on it, you can type in a question and just hit enter. I'm going to be monitoring all of the questions throughout today's webinar. And I think I will now tell you a little bit about COMDAX, or the Committee on Membership Development and Chapter Support. Their mission really, well, the name says it all. They are here to provide resources and support for chapter leaders. And everybody that is going to be presenting here today has sat in your seat or is serving in a position similar to yours now. So there's an empathy, they understand, they recognize what you're going through. And the whole point of this committee, which I think is such a great resource to the AGO, is that they are here for the chapters and to speak on behalf of the chapters. So that's the best way that I can put it. So our committee is chaired by Wayne Peterson, who I believe is a former dean of the Fort Wayne chapter. We have Judy Cole, who was a dean of the South Shore chapter, Judith Miller, who is secretary of the Southern Indiana chapter, Grant Holcomb, who is secretary of the Lexington chapter and also a member of the AGO Young Organists Committee, Connor McMains, who is sub-dean of the Dallas chapter, and a special guest with us today, Chris Cook, who is dean of the San Diego chapter. I hope I haven't forgotten anyone. But last but not least, we are supported and under the wonderful leadership of our counselor for membership, Vicki Schaefer. So Vicki, I am going to ask you to proceed.
Excellent. Thank you, Elizabeth. It's a pleasure to be with all of you today, and you're in for a great treat. I've heard what our panelists have to say, so you're hopefully going to learn a lot. In this time of the global pandemic, COMDAX has learned and known that it's very important, first of all, to care for each other, but also to make sure that the work of the Guild continues. And that's what we're here to do today, to give you some ideas and some things that have worked with the people who are going to be talking to you. Ideas that we know work, and hopefully what this will do is kind of spark your creativity, take notes and learn from people who are doing this. And of course, share ideas with us as we move forward. So this is about how we can make sure that the Guild is still healthy during this time, but also knowing that you are important to us as well. So I'd like to introduce, to get us started, Judy Cole and Judith Miller, who will talk to you about general communications.
Thanks, Vicki. Well, obviously, well thought out programming is one of the key elements to making an AGO chapter vital and engaging to the members. Yet I would contend that the most important priority is really communication. Our chapter has spent a lot of time developing the philosophy of communication. Naturally, we try to present the most progressive and creative events, but we're also committed to the underlying values that inform the way we communicate. The values that say, everyone is welcome, everyone has a voice, everyone brings value. We make sure that clear message is in every touch point with our members, that we understand the life of a church organist can be lonely, and in a sense, we're all swimming against the tide of culture. This speaks to a basic need to be part of something larger than ourselves, to feel the bond of colleagues who understand our world almost like a family. A focus on some of the basic communication tools can breathe new life into a chapter, and we've personally experienced this. Just as National is continually revamping their website to make it less cumbersome and more accessible, we've tried to do the same with our website. We asked a designer from the outside the Oregon community to reformat our website, as we wanted a fresh and less insular feel when somebody searches for us. They can easily find the information source for anything they're looking for, such as programming, personnel, member information, job openings. This site conveniently directs them to our social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So Judith is going to share some of her own methods of communication that have worked well within her chapter.
Yes, the most effective means of communication will vary with the chapter membership. Our chapter mailed a program directory to all members with updated contact information for each member and a list of the programs planned for next season, including some programs planned beyond the next season to add a little extra hope there. The directory included a mission statement, a list of our past deans, officers, local, state, and national, dues information, a list of members that are available for professional services, including organ lessons, weddings, funerals, concerts, and recitals. Preparing the directory included a lot of communication among our members. Preparation included personal phone calls, emails, texts to verify and update the information and to plan the next season's programs. A directory can give a sense of hope and continuity during this pandemic era. As you will now see on the screen, the AGO Southern California directory is quite extensive, it's outstanding and beautiful, and includes a compilation of information from chapters throughout the region. There are pictures of the officers for each chapter, advertisements offering programs to train new organists, pictures of members of the chapters with their contact information, a substitute list, and much of this, as you can see, is featured in color. So it's just a great directory. In our Southern Indiana chapter, emails have been an effective means of communication, alerting members of upcoming programs and relaying other pertinent information throughout the year. Our new dean is currently preparing a monthly newsletter. The October newsletter included the new AGO logo, a dean's message, and a recognition of a chapter member for her accomplishments, description of an organ project to refurbish a pipe organ in a local church, upcoming music events, a help wanted article, and memorials of 2 local prominent musicians in the area. Judy, what items are included in your chapter's newsletter?
Well, for our chapter, our monthly newsletter called Overtones is the primary source of communication as it arrives in everybody's email box monthly. It takes no searching, and it provides convenient links to social media and everything else that's referred to in that newsletter. Migrating from black and white type format, our newsletter is now filled with graphics and many photos at every possible place. This newsletter becomes the lifeblood of who we are as colleagues. And here's some of the features that we include. The Dean's column, where our values are reinforced here with an inspirational thought. Upcoming programs with details and graphics, which become the promo piece for each event. We send several MailChimp invitations around each program. Somebody You Should Know is an article that features a member's life and the role that music has played throughout their life. A personal profile. A member answers 5 incidental questions. You've seen this in lots of magazine interviews. You know, what's on your desktop? What are 2 things from your bucket list? It's just interesting and a little light reading. A full-length essay of someone's life, including lots of pictures. Perhaps this is honoring a charter member or somebody else we want to honor. Membership matters. This welcomes new members or says goodbye to somebody we've lost or has moved away. Treasurer's Corner. All our finances are reported monthly and are completely open for anyone to see. One of my favorite parts is the member chalkboard. This is where we highlight special accomplishments of our members or perhaps feature organ or choral works recorded at their church. We've done that a lot in the last couple months. Sometimes a question is posed and we print the response along with a picture, always a picture. These questions should be something like, how are you surviving this season? Or what piece of music has been the most treasured one for you to listen to during this time? We have organic diversions, where we include funny cartoons or interesting story, all with a picture of the person who contributed that. We always have end with notes from national, because a word from national is important so that we feel a connection with those that lead us. And colored pictures are a key. Seeing the face of other members make them more familiar, like a friend. And this is especially important during this time when we're unable to meet together. The Zoom chat room is another helpful way to connect with each other. After a virtual program, the host assigns everyone in groups of 4 to 6 in a chat room to discuss a question or talk about the program. We keep these to 10 minutes because that's about all anybody really wants to chat. We have, it's important for me that we have handwritten notes and personal phone calls because they're a way to offer a word of encouragement or congratulations. So Judith will share some of her personal experiences with these things.
Well, I have found that those handwritten cards and notes are a great way to recognize and support individual members. Cards and notes build morale and a sense of belonging within the chapter. And cards welcoming new members are also helpful. Personal phone calls are a good way to support members. In April, I tried to call everyone in our chapter, but it required a lot of flexibility. I had to use voicemail, text, and email in some cases. And the replies took various forms, but the attempt to reach out was almost always acknowledged with gratitude and graciously appreciated. For many chapters, some sort of system would be needed to divide up the calling responsibilities. Perhaps some sort of buddy system could be arranged. And now Zoom provides an opportunity to arrange virtual communication within the chapter. A Zoom coffee hour could be arranged to promote a sense of belonging. And videos could be prepared to maintain connections. Communication can also strengthen the chapter by including descriptions of opportunities to volunteer within the chapter and describing the responsibilities of each available office, and testimonials from current officers or other volunteers describing their positive experiences and the benefits from participating actively in the chapter could be included in the written communications. Directions for reaching the National AGO website and for discovering and exploring the resources available there would also be helpful. Effective communication is necessary for developing and strengthening chapter leadership. And now, back to Judy.
Well, you can
Actually, we have a couple of questions. And the first one is for you, Judith. What is the cost of the hard copies in color, or is it electronic only?
I think that Chris has the answer to that. I believe he said for the Southern California.
This was to Judith. What is the cost of the hard copies? Do you print them out, or you just send them electronically?
Oh, I see. We print them out and mail them.
Okay, and is it an expense to do that? I mean,
only for the chapter, but we don't charge for it.
okay. Okay, and I know Chris can answer the other one. This was regarding the Southern California, and I believe we talked about this. Do they print and mail the directory to everyone? It's just sent really via email, Chris, isn't it? Unless there are a few people that need to have that directory. Wait, we're going to ask you to unmute.
I know what to do. Yes, the Southern California directory that covers probably 9 or 10 chapters is compiled annually. It is about 80 or more spiral bound pages. We used to send it out by mail. It was $4 a piece on top of the cost of printing. We no longer do that. What we do is we electronically distribute, so you can have it on your laptop as a file. Or you can purchase a copy of your own for $18, including postage. So that's how it works here in Southern California.
And thank you, Peter Bates, district convener, for saying the same thing. So glad to see that you're online. And Judith is holding hers up now. That's great.
Southern Indiana chapter directory is much smaller, and we just send it out to every member. It's part of the membership dues.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Well, you can see that Judith and I are passionate about the importance of communication as a way to keep chapters vibrant. Not only do we communicate information, but more importantly, we communicate how valuable each relationship is. During this pandemic, doing this has become even more important.
Great. Thank you. And I think it's true, you know, communication is, as they both said, and you have all talked about, you know, it is important to know that you're not alone. So that's great. Thank you, ladies, for sharing your ideas. And like I said, I hope you picked up some great hints there, and thank you for sharing your questions and ideas with us. And now we're going to move on to the next topic, which is how our chapter is using the members at large position. And I see that Connor has disappeared, so I will turn this over to Chris Cook to tell us about members at large. Chris?
Thank you, Vicki. I'm so sorry Connor is not here to provide the introduction to this part of the webinar. Connor is the sub-dean of the Dallas chapter, one of the largest chapters in the nation, and a very proud one as well. And their experience with, if Connor were here, he would be sharing his experience of leadership and the use of members at large in that chapter. So I'm going to do my best to speak on his behalf, and then we'll transition into what was originally my part, which is from the San Diego perspective, an application of the use of members at large for a specific purpose. So first, Connor would like for you to know that there are some great things about members at large. It's a great way first to get new board members. It's nice and it's easy to introduction to the operation of a chapter with a small commitment depending upon what is assigned. And Connor himself was started out in leadership in the Central Arkansas chapter with his with being a member at large. He also observed it's a great way to raise up and train new leadership. That's what his experience was, and that's actually my experience as well. I came on and have many years ago, and first as a member at large, the secretary and dean, and I'm back at it. So leadership is development is and training is a big thing, and it provides an opportunity that so many people would not have. Also, in Dallas, they have 9 at-large members that are divided into 3 classes. One class of 3 rolls off each year with a new one rolling on. And the Dallas chapter uses their members at large to assign participation on subcommittees. He has listed hospitality and programming, or to ask a member at large to take on the role of webmaster or communications or a yearbook work. So the Dallas chapter uses at-large members quite well, it seems, and it always seems that there is attention being paid to each member at large having a purpose, an assignment, a task, a responsibility to which he is or she is responsible to the board. And so that's a very successful model. Here in San Diego, I was dean 25 or more years ago, and I'm back at it again. I'm happily the dean. And at that time in 1994, I observed that we had absolutely no strategy for engaging new members, or we had paid no attention to the possibility that there were people that would want to be a part of our chapter, no effort being played, no strategy. So imagine my surprise 25 years later that the same thing was true. And we were dwindling somewhat. So when I became dean, I started thinking about what could we possibly do. And we had already had a conversation about the problem that our unattended to members at large really did not have a purpose in mind unless somebody thought of something. They were just supposed to show up at every meeting and have nothing to say and have very little participation. So you can imagine that attendance actually dropped off very quickly when people figured that out. And actually the word got out, and frankly, people just said, well, I don't want to have anything to do with being a member at large. It's a waste of my time. So that was the second factor that led to the program that I'm now going to describe to you. One of the lessons that I like to share with you, a perspective, is that as leaders in the Guild, we can use members at large in any way we wish. And if there is a need or if there is a desire to institute something above and beyond, it is possible to organize the members at large into a committee or to involve them in other ways that would really repurpose them to that goal. In San Diego, because we were struggling with developing an intentional strategy for membership development and recruitment, we decided that we wanted to do away with members at large and assign specific tasks to that number of people. If Connor were here, he would now throw up a screen that shows the roles that we have imagined. And so I'll just describe them as clearly as I can to you. Before I do that, I want to share one more thing, and that is that I've begun to think of the chapter as having three functions. There's the program, which is obvious. And then there's the business of the chapter, the finances, all of the communication strategies and all that. And then there's really the membership. And I have now repurposed them with board approval. These are all in the operating procedures and rewritten. If you're interested, I can provide a text of that for you. So what we did was we took the dean as a coach. That's me. I kind of have the concept, so I'm coaching the committee. We took the registrar as a person who is directly involved all the time with membership, but in a very passive way. And we have repurposed his participation to become the function of tracking and accountability for the cohort's activities. And so he is a wonderful record keeper, and he assists everybody else in figuring out what we should do next. We imagined a membership coordinator who is formerly a member at large, a membership coordinator that is sort of an inclusive and shepherding role, who is responsible for maintaining a strategy and maintaining the initiative of this group of 5 people. We also identified a hospitality coordinator who formerly was all about cookies and coffee and meals. A wonderful, welcoming person who has nothing to do but now has new responsibilities because we have redirected his efforts to be a part of this cohort, not about food and drink, but rather about welcoming and inclusivity. And so he's a part of that committee. And the last member of is the chapter life coordinator. This is a person who's responsible for bringing the personal into our chapter by identifying interesting people, keeping up to date with the life events of people, passings, marriages, children, whatever they are, comings and goings, new members. We always have a wonderful new member welcome for each person who joins the chapter. So we have dean, registrar, membership coordinator, hospitality coordinator, and chapter life coordinator. So group of 5 people is now identified in our chapter as the membership cohort. So in doing that, in forming that group, we are, I want to acknowledge, in an evolving state. This is all relatively new in the past year or year and a half. In order to make this group work, we have relaxed the rigid concept of stated functions or job descriptions so that there is an increasingly overlapped sense of teamwork and increasing in synergy among the group of people that are here. We now are meeting at least once a month for a half an hour for accountability to keep up with each person and to keep the team going. And so the team actually has 2 areas of influence. The first area is membership development and recruitment. We have developed what we call the INSPIRE model, which is a strategy for finding, engaging, and attracting new members or fallen away members. The second area of influence that our membership cohort is responsible for is membership engagement and retention, membership engagement among present members and retaining them. And so that's a completely different role for this group. Now that's where you have your Zoom meetings and you have get-togethers and that sort of thing. Lots of fun to do. Even on Zoom, we still have a good time. The membership cohort is a work in progress. The strategy that we have involved is that we have involved ourselves in is a kind of a circle of identifying a person who might be a possible member, making contact with them, developing a relationship with them, reporting back to the group what's going on, getting more information, developing mutual support for further contact. And then we have a 2-way exit from that cycle. One is I'm not interested, so we're going to continue developing that relationship. And 2 is we are interested, and an invitation to membership and all kinds of swag as well. So
Chris, someone did have a question, which I think you're explaining now, which is where do you get most of your new members? And really it's cultivating it, isn't it? It's cultivating those
well, we have some very interesting ways of doing this. First of all, everybody knows somebody who's not who is an organist. Everybody knows somebody who isn't a member, right? We have 150 pipe organs in town and 700 and some organs in the city, electronic organs in the city. So we know the salespeople who sold those organs or built them. And they are a great source of information about who is at that organ right now, because they're still maintaining the instruments. So we developed, that's the first place that we actually get potential members for our committee to process. By the way, we only take 5 people at a time in our circle. Each one of us has one person that we focus on until there's a resolution. Otherwise, we become overwhelmed. We had 34 people we were tracking the first year. Right now, which is just amazing. But that's the answer to that question.
That's amazing. So I would just love
could
all
I
of our...
interrupt? Also, I'm sorry, because I just remembered, I just wrote the Dean's message today before this, and it is about membership development. It is literally saying that I am the Dean, am asking every person in the chapter who knows someone to get in touch with them, because that's how we build the web of our community. And if you know someone who is not a member, please let me know so I can take it to the committee.
Would you be happy to share that Dean's message as a handout?
Of course, right. I'll have to edit it first.
So what you've described, just imagine if every chapter did this and was able to recruit, say, 4 or 5 members a year. It doesn't sound like a lot, but when you think that we have 282 chapters, it would really make an impact. Molly Davey, who I forgot to introduce, bless her heart down here, who is in member services, who has been tracking, we've lost a considerable amount of members this month. But if chapters started thinking and developing those kind of processes, it would be amazing. And I don't want to take any more time, but it was so cute. We had another question from someone saying, well, what exactly is a member at large? And you've envisioned, I think it gives the chapter the opportunity to really do, because I've looked in our rules or our handbook, and I don't think it really says what they do. So it can be a leadership development, as Connor was sharing and you were sharing. I love the term member life coordinator. I just think that's such a great term. So it's envisioning what you want your chapter to be. And so anyway, I'm not moderating this. I'm gonna put myself on mute and let you continue.
Do you have anything else to add, Chris?
I can talk forever, as you all know, and if there's more information that I can supply anyone, I'd be happy to have a phone call, an email, and to provide any documentation that would be supportive of your chapter. We do have a great graphic image of our Inspire cycle, which we use, which we have in front of us when we meet, because it helps us to keep the roadmap going. So we can share that as well. Otherwise, I will turn it back to you, Vicki. There's more good stuff coming.
Right. There is more good stuff coming in. And I think part of what, we're kind of building up to our last topic here, but it really is all about building relationships, from the communications we've already heard about, but it's building those relationships. And then once we have those relationships built, whether you start with members at large or whatever, is to then start to groom people to be in positions of leadership. I don't know how many of you watching this have been in maybe serving as the dean for a long period of time. Feel like it's sort of like the Supreme Court. You're sort of there until you until you die. It doesn't have to be that way. So our final topic is building a leadership pipeline, ways to support a more effective board nominations process to find those people. So I'm going to turn it over to Wayne and Grant to lead us through this last topic.
Thank you, Vicki. Good afternoon, everyone. As we all are aware, a chapter's vitality is directly tied to the vitality of its leadership. A regular turnover in leadership cultivates innovative and appealing chapters. Perpetually recycled leadership results in stagnant and decaying chapters. In order to find fresh quality officers, it's important to build a reservoir of volunteers from which leaders can be drawn. The recruitment of volunteers for tasks large and small is essential for grooming and vetting future leaders. The volunteer pool is the laboratory in which talented and reliable leaders are discovered. Meaningful volunteer jobs also solidify a member's loyalty to the chapter and make them feel of worth. Can you remember a time early in your guild membership when someone asked you to pass out programs or bring cookies to a reception or turn pages for a recitalist? How did that make you feel? Speaking for myself, I have more enthusiasm for the organizations to which I belong when I'm entrusted with a task. The organization becomes more relevant to me, and I feel more relevant to it. What volunteer jobs do we ask people to do during a pandemic? While our current crisis has rendered some volunteer tasks redundant, new opportunities have arisen, such as those in social media, streaming, and technical support. These are perfect assignments for our younger, budding leaders. We must keep an eye to the future and the leadership skills that will be needed tomorrow. This leads us to rethinking and redefining chapter leadership positions, a topic which will now be ably explored by Grant.
Thank you, Wayne. Beautiful. As Wayne stated, it's very important to have a good arsenal and pool of potential chapter leaders at the ready. I say that a recipe for an ailing and failing chapter is a ship without a captain. And in order to really set up your chapter for long-term success, as Wayne was saying, you know, we need leaders for tomorrow. A leadership pipeline could be a very nice way to help you meet your goals. Here in the Lexington, Kentucky chapter, we think that we really have our leadership positions down to a T at the given time. Of course, we think that these positions can be a little bit flexible and ebb and flow depending on what your chapter is going through at a time, what your programming is, what's really needed. In one instance, you know, of you know, being able to look at it with that lens and rethinking and redefining positions is that with the implementation of OnCard, our registrar's work was really reduced, which is, you know, fine and all of that kind of thing, but they were feeling burned out and all of that kind of thing. So we were able to absorb the registrar position with the treasurer position, and it's totally manageable for this person to handle that. Another thing that's important with maintaining a leadership pool is that less people on your executive committee is more. What we have noticed is that after a time on the executive committee, people want to break. They get burnout. That's how it goes. So you don't want to use all your arsenal at one time. It's good to have people at the ready always. So less is more in that regard. Wayne, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Grant. Officer and volunteer recruitment will be successful and produce favorable outcomes if the job details are clearly articulated to prospective candidates. Useful information to share includes the position's responsibilities, expectations, time commitment, length of term, and skills required. And don't forget to mention the joys and benefits of serving. The Leadership Toolkit on the AGO website presents detailed descriptions of officer duties and responsibilities. The toolkit can be accessed from the membership menu on the home page. Also included in the toolkit are the detailed steps required for the nominations process. The document states that a nominating committee must be formed by December 31st. However, I'd like to suggest that the nominating committee be formed now, not waiting until December. And also, chapters must be watchful for leadership potential year-round. Grant, will you please share your thoughts about discovering prospective volunteers and leaders?
Sure thing. Here in Lexington, our chapter leadership works very hard to maintain a healthy and vibrant chapter. And we like to think that we do a pretty good job with that. And a huge component of that is by placing a high priority and importance on a close sense of community. And yes, in the music scene, but also particularly going a little bit out of your way and make an effort to get to know someone outside of the organ and music world. You know who the person is in an AGO meeting, but what do they do? What's their vocation? Are they full-time church musicians? Are they bivocational, for instance? And by getting to know them that way, you might find that these people are very fit to hold a leadership role, you know, by experience from whatever else they dabble in. An instance of that is that in 2018, Lexington hosted a January Jubilee. And then in the weeks after the Jubilee, we had a potluck chapter dinner where we invited all of the new members that we gained at the Jubilee to come and get to know people and just have some nice fellowship time and all of that kind of thing. And one of those new members happened to have an extensive background in finance and accounting. So she has been our treasurer since and has done a wonderful job. Another person from one of those events is has a wide background in IT work and web page design and all of that. So that person now, manages our web page and helps, design logos and graphics and that kind of thing for our chapter. When hosting these chapter dinners and things, you can, ask certain people in your membership to be a leadership scout and talk to people, and also just, yes, get to know them, but also survey an interest and whether or not they might want to take on a leadership role in your chapter in the future. So that's also a very important thing. I'll turn it back over to you, Wayne.
Thanks, Grant. Those are great ideas. As you can tell, Grant is in the leadership pipeline for national, I think. He's just a great leader.
Thank you.
The AGO and Elizabeth George are tirelessly making leadership materials available. I invite you to explore the chapter leadership toolkits on the website that I've previously mentioned, but also participate in future webinars. View past webinars, which are also posted on the website, and read the chapter leadership newsletters, which contain a mountain of innovative ideas. I'd like to conclude our section with some comments and offer 2 leadership challenges and a quote. The first challenge: whatever our leadership position, let's strive to leave it in better shape for our successor than we found it. And the second challenge: identify a future leader to mentor and encourage. In doing so, we will fulfill these inspiring words of Herbie Hancock. Reach up while reaching down. Grow while helping others. While we're in the process of moving forward, bring others with you. Thank you. Vicki?
We have some good questions here. So Grant, how large, and I should know this, is the Lexington chapter?
I want to say around 120 members.
Okay, and that's about the size of San Diego. You might be a little bigger?
We have 139 members.
Okay. Dallas, we know, is one of the big ones. Southern Indiana is probably maybe about 60. You have to unmute yourself, Judith.
Right now, 41.
Okay. And Judy, how many are in your chapter?
We hover around 100.
Okay. So this follows then, Grant, explain less is more, a bit more. And I'll just start by saying, the point of this is every chapter is a different size and needs to have different leadership models that work for them. So Grant, if you want to elaborate on that.
Sure. I think really what I meant by that is that, the less moving parts you have, you're able to get more done. I think, if you're able to combine tasks into roles, it just eliminates a lot of moving parts and that kind of thing. And I find that you're able to get more done. And with that, once everyone rotates off it helps so that it also reduces the chance that people might have to serve a second consecutive term on the executive committee. That way you can pull out of your pool and get, a fresh slate of new faces.
Were there any other questions, Elizabeth, that popped up that we need to address?
What membership size is considered small, medium, and large? Okay, here we go, Molly. I would say small is up to 50 people. Medium would be maybe 125 up to 100, 125, and then large would be anything over that. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Does that sound about right?
That sounds good to me.
Okay. So, but I'll say there's no one size that fits all. And I think you need to do what's going to be best for your chapter. And that's, I think what you've heard today is such a wonderful cross section of what people do to make their leadership work and engage members. Another question, do any of you offer perks for new members? We do offer free membership for our scholarship winners.
In San Diego, we have a set of intentional gifts that we offer. We have sort of, you might recognize me as being the practical organist author. I have tons of new music in my files that we just give away one piece at a time or two pieces at a time. Post-it notes, CDs, all kinds of perks for to just get attention. In addition to that, the board approved $1,000 this year to cover anybody who couldn't afford to renew, which is something was a national initiative. But we also can use the same amount of money to provide a annual trial membership for anyone who was willing to join us. So the first year is free in San Diego right now.
Wow, that's wonderful. All right, we have a very thought-provoking question here. What if the regime doesn't want to move forward using the endemic as an excuse? I mean, that's interesting. So you've got a team that just feels real happy, I guess, sitting on that board, and we could make them, I guess, a comparison on a national, or I won't get into politics now, but and Vicky's laughing.
Yeah.
But I mean, what do you do if you've got a board that just says, "Oh, we're happy here. We don't want to move on"? Anybody?
That's like a whole new webinar that we could have a whole discussion over that.
Could.
Yeah.
We really could.
Resolution.
That's a new question. My immediate response is, as a good Protestant rebel, is that I would just take it on myself to just provide resources to the membership without regard for the board's inactivity, because it's so easy right now to get online resources to people. It would be a very simple thing to say, "Hey, I found this great recital I wanted to share with you."
Someone's commenting here. Yes, my folks don't even think we need to have a monthly newsletter since we don't have any events. Oh, we don't want to hear that. We don't want to hear that. There's no excuse for no monthly events with all the virtual programming that is now available on the website. And
Right.
the other word is collaboration, right? We all can collaborate together. So we don't want to hear it. Chris?
Real quickly, we actually have a chapter that made that decision that's next door to us. A friend of mine's the dean, and I just said, "Hey, why don't you just piggyback your events on ours? We'll send you a link to everything we do and invite you as full members into anything that we do." And by golly, it's working. They are tuning in. So that's the best we can do from sitting outside.
Judy?
Elizabeth, might I also recommend that they reach out to the district convener if they are unhappy with the local leadership? You know, obviously it's best to solve this problem locally, but if satisfaction can't be achieved, the district convener maybe could be of use.
Absolutely, and their regional counselor as well. Judy, did you want to comment on something?
My point is a little bit the same, in that I've found since I've become a dean, the national I feel like you're right in step with us as leadership, and which is so encouraging to me. And I would think that you've got your pulse on the different boards, and I would think this is where you would have the authority from national to come in and say, "Hey, you know, there is a method of how we do things." And so that's encouraging to me that there's hope for moving people along with your general guidance.
Right, and I think too, you know, following along those lines, like Wayne said, you know, going to the district convener or the regional counselor, having, you know, any of us, you know, do a Zoom meeting or something, you know, sometimes somebody coming in from the outside, presenting ideas that may be coming from the membership who, you know, isn't necessarily looking at the leadership of the local chapters wanting to move forward, you know, sometimes having somebody coming in and doing like we're doing today, sharing ideas, you know, people from the outside are also always considered experts as opposed to the people, you know, within the chapter. So, you know, use national as a resource, use regional counselors, district conveners, you know, all of us as resources to kind of spur things along. And, you know, and I think in the days of the pandemic, you know, it is kind of easy to kind of sit back and go, well, there's nothing we can do. You know, we're stuck at home there, you know, we can't have activities, but I think it still goes back to the communication ideas. Even if you don't have a newsletter filled with events coming up, you can at least say, hey, did you know that so-and-so just got a new job, or, you know, whatever the case may be. So that kind of connection, I think, is kind of important. But like I said, that this could be a whole topic for a whole different webinar, how to kind of keep things moving forward. Because, you know, how many times have we all heard, hey, we've done it this way before and it's always worked, so why change? You know, change is hard, but, you know, if the pandemic has taught us nothing else right now, it's that we have to change. And, you know, that's what we're trying to do. So
I have one last question, and I have a feeling all of you could have different ideas. Any perks to lure people to virtual participation? I'm frustrated with no one showing up. My answer would be, are you adding a Zoom meeting or get together maybe before you watch a recording or afterwards, so there's some social aspect? That might be one thing. I don't know. Any other ideas? Somebody answered, offer a free pizza to randomly selected participant. Oh, that's a good one. Thank you, Renee. We had members play at our meetings, so they had to come. Very good. That'll do it. That'll do it. Great. This is wonderful. We probably do have enough material, Vicki, for an entire webinar.
Just will give our committee something to do. Anything else that we have missed, Elizabeth, question-wise, or are we?
I think we're good.
Any final thoughts from any of the panelists? Any last words of wisdom that you would like to share before we? Chris, you need to unmute.
I was just thinking that all of us who are in leadership positions, our people really are depending upon us to take the initiative, to be creative and to be engaging in ways that they can relate to, because that's why they elected us to these offices.
So true. Anybody else? Well, having heard all at this point, first of all, I'd like to thank all of the panelists for your words of wisdom and your passion, and special thanks to Molly and Elizabeth. You know, I think as many years as I've been in the Guild, I was telling someone the other day, you know, it was always kind of, you know, national just seems so far away, you know, no matter where I was living, it was always national this and national that. And now I think it's nice to put a face to the names that we now see. And we are so fortunate to have people on the staff working with us and for us, and kind of moving us along as we go through these obviously very strange times. And, you know, we are in a situation that none of us have ever had to go through before. And I think we're doing our best. So again, thank you to all of you who took time out this Friday afternoon to join us, and for your passion for the organ and what the Guild does. And, you know, we encourage you to stay in touch with us as you come up with ideas. When you find something that works, please get in touch with us and let us know, and know that we are here, you know, not working for you, we're working with you. And that's how we roll here. So I'll turn it back over to Elizabeth to kind of wrap things up for us. Elizabeth.
Thank you, Vicki. Thank you. So well said. I mean, we're all in this together now. We have each other's backs, and we have to collaborate. I don't think we'll be successful unless we do. We really need to. And there are so many people, there's so many resources that you have. So I encourage you, as Vicki said, to reach out to your district convener, reach out to your regional counselor, reach out to me, to Molly, to Leah Semikin, our chapter relations manager, who unfortunately couldn't be with us today. And I'm just going to take this opportunity, in addition to thanking all of our panelists, to do a little bit of a promotion. A week from today at 2:00 Eastern Time, we have a wonderful panel of 3 regional counselors, Sue Mitchell-Wallace, Sky Hart, and Carl Brune, past regional counselor for the Great Lakes region. And the subject is going to be the benefits and challenges of serving as dean. So we hope it will be interactive. That's definitely a hot topic. And I have a feeling that there'll be a lot of Q&A there and a lot of problem sharing and maybe some conflict resolution, but that's what this is all about. So thank you again, everyone, for participating today. Stay safe, stay well, and I hope to see you soon.